Yeah, I mean, within reason, like, yeah, you know. Nobody's ever done a job that bad. That's good.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My mom figured out today that I took her car keys.
Probably can't stop talking about it.
Absolutely right. And she's told everybody.
Tunnel vision. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. She goes, why can't I drive? And I said, no. Yeah, yeah, but
Coming up here.
not on my watch. Yeah, no, thanks for asking. She's,
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I mean, as well as she can do. We're looking at the reality that maybe she's gonna be able to stay at home for probably 6 months. And then we'll have to think about it.
I heard you, Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, she doesn't remember.
Yeah, there you go. What's up the car?
Exactly.
That's wonderful. Oh, well, yeah, that's nasty. No, he's got, he may have.
So it's something similar. I mean, you might go one day. That's 4 rooms.
That's maybe either one of them.
Yeah, and it's. They don't have California.
She just knows right there.
She works.
And that's what I'm
I'm ready to try.
Yeah.
And I think when they know about it, I think. I want to say it's on the just a copy of it.
Not that it matters. You got to know. It's different. You
Tonight. Huh? You know, I actually kind of do because they were so much fun. Yeah, yeah, and the ones that weren't fun, it was like, can we go now?
Symbiotic relationship.
That's a cute thing for sure. These are my pictures. They're either business. That's it. No other pictures. We'll know tomorrow. I'm gonna sit on
So that was.
Good evening. Welcome to the Wright City Council on March 5th, 2024 at 6:31 we'll be beginning. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just want to remind everybody to silence their cell phones at this time. And we didn't, our closed session was canceled this evening, so we do not have any reportable action. Okay, so we'll move on to item number 5. This is special presentations and or announcement. This time slot is for informational presentations, appointments, or awards to be presented by the city council or to the city council. Wairika Fire Department, appointment of Dakota Martin and Jordan, is it Craney? As volunteers to the Wairika Fire Department by Fire Chief Jerry Lemus.
I feel better. I feel taller this way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jerry Lemus, your city fire chief. My pleasure to announce or present to you Mr. Jordan Craney and Dakota Martin this evening as our latest candidates for entry into the fire department. They bring with them some great attitudes and experience, and so we're looking forward to bringing them on. So Donnie, you go ahead and make the rounds and get a photo op and then do the vote first, or do
Actually, if we can do the photo ops, that would
Okay.
be ideal right now. And
Sure.
if anybody wants to join them, and then we can do the actual handshakes with the city council, that'd be great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Thanks for your service.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on board.
Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, thank you.
And Chief, if you don't mind, if we can get them back there with Tori, and we
Oh.
can have everybody by the seal. if that's
Sure.
okay.
No, I'm just here for moral support.
I guess we want this. I don't need to block the seal.
here like this.
Can we move my chair?
Yeah, if it's okay to slide it.
I can move it over here, and I'll move Corey's as well.
Thank you, sir.
Because I haven't been 6'5" since I played years ago. Can you get us in? Come on.
Yeah.
Wide angle.
I'm just thinking about 1,000 photos. Perfect.
Thanks for coming aboard, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome.
All right.
Chief, you probably got enough.
That's it. Yeah, we're getting some more.
Oh, amazing. I'm like, holy cow, every time I turn around lately.
Yeah, we got one more in the queue, and I think we're gonna stop it there.
Okay, that's good. You know, they don't have to stay for all the other stuff if they don't want.
Well, just through the consent agenda.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They've been in.
If you can't stay though, you can.
Right. Thank you guys again, and thank you, Chief. Number 6 is public comments. Public participation is welcomed and invited at all city council meetings. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the regular agenda. If your comments concern an item noted on the regular agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. The city requests that persons addressing the city council refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. Council members, when recognized by the mayor, may ask clarifying questions of the presenter, but no action may be taken by the city council during public comment section of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, The city council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the agenda. If your comments concern an item listed under the public hearing or new business sections of the agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. Please speak into the microphone from the podium. The podium electronically adjusts up and down to accommodate the speaker. Please state your name for the record prior to providing your comments. Please address the council as a whole. If you have documents to present, please provide a minimum of 7 copies. These become public record. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Since the council is unable to take action on issues not on the agenda, your matter may be referred to staff for follow-up or be placed on a future agenda. The public comment period is not intended to be a question and answer period or conversations with the council or city staff. Anybody for public comment at this time?
Montgomery, Autry. I wanted to say thank you for having the homeless shelter here. Thank you for being the city that you are, for caring about homeless people. It really mattered to the people that were here and that were able to get help and have a nice warm place. I know that homelessness, like I said before, is ugly. It's ugly for everyone, but for people to care matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Donry. Any other public comment at this time? All right, I will close public comment. Go to item number 7. This is a consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one motion unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. Item A, approval ratification of payments issued from February 11th, 2024 to February 25th, 2024. B, cash balances budget to actual and fiscal performance reports for November 2023. C, cash balances budget to actual and fiscal performance reports quarterly investment report for December 2023. D, adoption of resolution 2024-10, a resolution of the city council adopting a capitalization policy for implementation of the government accounting standards board's statement number 87 and statement number 96. E, approval of minutes of the regular meeting held February 20th, 2024. F, appointment of Dakota Martin as a volunteer to the Wairika Fire Department. G, appointment of Jordan Craney as a volunteer to the Wairika Fire Department. H, approval of a letter authorization for the city manager to solicit, I'm sorry. I'll start over. I'm sorry. H, approval of a letter and authorization for the city manager to solicit from CAL FIRE an estimate for the cost of contract services for fire emergency medical responses. I, motion adopt resolution 24-11 of the City Council of the City of Wairika, State of California, authorizing the filing of an application for the Assistant to Firefighters Grant Program. The recommendation for the City Council action before you is the motion to adopt the consent agenda of the City Council of the City of Wairika as presented. What are the wishes of the council?
I'll make a motion. So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Kaag.
I'll second the motion.
I have a second from Councilman Baker. I'll do a roll call. Councilman Kaag.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Aye.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And Mayor Middleton will be aye. So the motion passes 5-0. 8, old business, city manager to title the ballot measure draft language development. Draft ballot measure language is being presented with the intent to receive feedback and direction on a ballot measure language for introduction for city council meeting. Mr. Ledbetter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Wairika City Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager. So I'm going to introduce this item, and you are not voting on whether or not you want something on the ballot. I just want to make sure that's very clear. We're just looking at some language if you were to pursue a possible ordinance to place something on the November ballot. We obviously have Mr. Jared, the city attorney, on the line who would be working with you when we look at some proposed language. So I'll just introduce this item. So we're looking for a discussion and direction tonight for city staff regarding the proposed draft ballot measure language. The city currently has insufficient funding streams to continue to provide the level of service for municipal activities across the board. Increased demand for services such as fire and police require that additional funding be explored. Here, draft ballot measure language is being presented with the intent to receive feedback and direction on language for formal introduction at a future city council meeting where you would vote at that point if we did come back with some ordinances. At the January 30, 2024 city council meeting, the Wairika City Council passed a motion to direct the city attorney and city staff to develop ballot measure language for a sales tax measure. At the meeting, it was requested that draft language of the ballot measure be brought back for discussion prior to being brought to the city council for action. The following draft language is being presented with the intent to ask CFTDA to review such language and bring back resolutions and draft ordinance for approval to place such a measure on a future ballot. And so if I can ask you to turn to your final page 78 in your packet. And if you look at the last paragraph, I just want to read to you the proposed language and then really open up the discussion for you utilizing myself and obviously the city attorney who would have most say here on the legality of language and language changes. But here's the proposed language as it stands right now. To maintain and improve essential city services, including local firefighting and emergency medical response, hire and train firefighters, upgrade, replace aging firefighting safety equipment, life-saving tools in an outdated firehouse, and support police, senior and youth recreation, and other city services, shall an ordinance be adopted to impose a 1% sales tax providing approximately $2.4 million annually for general government use until ended by voters with independent audits and all funds staying local. So I'll ask that maybe you spend the next 30 seconds maybe rereading that to yourself, and then we'll open up the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter.
And I'm sorry to cut off everyone's train of thought. I just wanted to make one last comment, and that is, as the language stands right now, we believe it to be legal. It has not gone to the state to be reviewed, but obviously internally and with your city attorney, it has been reviewed. So we believe it to be just and legal, but does it really match the intent of the city council? And is there any verbiage that you see you would want to change? That's what we're kind of exploring today. That way, once you do feel comfortable with the language, it does not mean you support a ballot initiative. It just means you're comfortable with the language. We would then move forward to make sure that the state was approving the legality of that language before we came back with an ordinance to you.
All right. Did everybody read it? I take it. Everybody's read it? Okay. I'm sorry, do I got the public comment on this?
I think I would probably discuss first.
That's first, yeah, but I mean, do I go afterwards?
Yep, and then public comment
Okay.
after that. Yep.
Great, thank you. Okay. City Council, any questions or comments, concerns? Councilman Baker?
Thank you. So is Mr. Jared on the line? So
Yes.
good evening, Mr. Jared. It's my experience with ballot language for sales tax issues that the language has to be extremely specific, and there's not a lot of latitude in the wording of the language. Is that still true?
Good evening. Yes, there are some definite requirements of it, and we believe that this would fulfill that. The ballot language first needs to be 75 words or less. There are special provisions, whether or not this would be a special tax or a general tax, and whether it would be considered that. We believe this would be a general tax. We also believe that this would fulfill the requirements that the taxing agency would have. So next steps, if you are okay with this language in its draft form, we would then take this to the state taxing agency and see if they would be in favor of the validity of the verbiage. It doesn't mean they're saying that it's legally sufficient if someone were to legally challenge it, but it fulfills their requirements that they see under the law. That's what would be asked of them. The next step after that would be to bring back to the full city council for placing this on the ballot, and that would be action by the city council by resolution. And attached to that resolution would be an ordinance that, if adopted by the voters, would then be become an ordinance of the city. So that's kind of the process, and also all of the legal sufficiency that we have identified so far.
Thank you. And is it Measure H that was adopted by the city several years ago for to support the purchase of fire department equipment?
Yes, it was Measure H, and that was there's been two tax initiatives that I'm familiar with, and Measure H was a property assessment specific to what you just stated for the fire department. And then Measure C came at some point, which was a 0.5% sales tax for, I think, safety, police, and roads, as well as essential services.
So would this funding, if this tax were to pass, would portions of this funding actually be used to upgrade and replace aging firefighting safety equipment and life-saving tools? Or would that money be covered by Measure H funds?
I think it would probably be, it could be utilized in both fashions, whereas we're seeing the equipment or the rigs, I'll call them, are getting very expensive. And so ultimately, maybe you had jaws of life that you needed to purchase. And my expectation is you would be purchasing that, or turnouts, or other items. And hypothetically, you could even be, I guess, hypothetically be purchasing anything with this money really for the fire department or for the city in general. But I know Measure H is something that is really crucial and would still be utilized really for the maintenance of the 10-year replacement plan on all of the rigs and any new rigs. So I would imagine that they would be left separate, but hypothetically, any city council could utilize this funding in any fashion. And if they wanted to buy a rig, they would be able to buy a rig.
Okay, so I just want to throw out my concern, and I'm extremely aware of the legalities of a tax measure and how, again, how the measures have to be pretty precise. But what concerns me about including the upgrade, replace aging firefighting safety equipment, life-saving tools, is I'm concerned that people would maybe be confused with the fact that we do have Measure H, and there would be a concern of double dipping, so to speak. So that's my concern. That's the only concern that I have. Thank you.
I think that's a very valid concern, and that's exactly what we're here to talk about. So I think that we can we'll entertain everybody's feedback, but I think we should. You have a very good point. People feel very passionate about Measure H, obviously. And so I think that we should rework some of that verbiage personally.
Thank you.
Hey, Councilman Baker.
Here.
Oh, I was waiting for anybody.
I was, yeah.
You want to
I
go?
don't know that Paul has some. Mr. McCoy has some. No, I just want to listen to everybody else. I think I'm.
Oh. Guess I'll go. I guess, yeah, to piggyback on Councilman Baker's is, so as Measure H with the cost of the equipment and what the revenue that's coming in for that, is it sufficient enough now? That is it being spent like rapidly, or because the cost of everything is going up? Is it running low? Do you see a problem there of that funding stream for them?
Not necessarily at the moment. I mean, certainly we're seeing an escalation in cost of some of the rigs that are used by the fire department, but I would say that the fire department has done a really great job with the two gentlemen in the room, and certainly some folks that came before, with managing this funding and managing the replacement of vehicles. And so I would say that that the city is doing very right by Measure H to continue that process, and currently as well. But you never know what the future holds with the escalation of costs.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you. Councilman Davis, do you have a question?
Am I on? No, there we go. I don't understand the last three words with the last part there. It says with independent audits and all funds staying local. Not exactly sure what that means.
Essentially, I believe what the verbiage would mean is that the funding would be utilized here within the city of Wairika. That's essentially my take on that, but I don't know if anybody, Mr. Jared, has any commentary on how you decipher that in the ballot language.
Certainly. That type of language has been included in measures in the past to underscore that this funding would not be going to the county. It would not be going to the state, that this is a local task measure to address local general fund concerns. And while public safety is part of that, all of the other aspects in the general fund are too. And it's simply a situation where funding is necessary for the city to address its own issues, budgetary issues that it's facing.
Well, may I continue?
Sure thing.
Well, my concern was that's pretty general. Maybe that's good. I thought maybe if we wanted to buy a metal building, let's say, and we had to go to, let's say, someplace in Reading to buy the building, would that be out of the scope of this ballot measure or this sales tax measure?
No, I don't believe that it would be at all. Is that ultimately, like, the rigs themselves are certainly fabricated and put together outside of Siskiyou County. So I think it really, the intent has more to do with what Mr. Jared stated. When you go to the election, or ironically enough, people were voting today. And so ultimately, there's a number of items on the ballot. And I think Mr. Jared really nailed it, is it's really telling the person, this is a local measure. This is for the city of Wairika. This is not collected and going to the state and recycled back to us. So the money is local to be used locally, but certainly we could buy things in other locations to bring back here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, both of you. I have a couple more things.
Keep on.
Go right to it. Huh? Also in that ballot measure, and these kind of surprise me. Actually, I think we're trying to support a firehouse and maybe get some paid EMTs or medical people. And it says to support police, senior and youth recreation. I don't quite. Why is that there? Is that just a general thing to be thrown in there, or?
Yeah, these are services that the general fund currently provides. And so Madrone Hospice would, or, senior recreation hypothetically would be your senior lunch program done through Madrone Hospice, or our relationship and some of the programs that end up getting run through YMCA. And so ultimately, I think you're touching on something, the differentiation of different tax opportunities. And within the scope of what we're stating here tonight, this is language for what's called general fund. And so that's why the language is very general, because ultimately the city council now and the city council in the future will have they'll have the ability to utilize this funding for the general fund. And so the general fund now is on some level, your potholes, right? Your parks, your administrative staff on some level, certainly safety as well, the senior program, any other improvements we can make to youth recreation. Whereas Measure H in the past was very specific in a property assessment. And so the language would have only stated the specificity in that instance, where we're stating here that this general fund sales tax measure it would be utilized in a number of different fashions to help the general fund that we're claiming here within the staff memo is insufficient funding streams in generality to the general fund. And so that's why you're seeing a list of different services that the city provides that hypothetically the funding could be utilized for.
Okay, I'm kind of like Ms. Baker. I kind of like to see it specifically what we really want the sales tax for. And if it's to help our fire department, that's what it should touch on that and state at that point. That's my feeling.
Just to clarify, if that's the direction that the council wanted to go, you would be changing the requirements of approval from 50% plus one to 66% plus one. So just so you're aware of that, you're welcome to do that. But that's why the verbiage is generalized.
So real quick, then I'll pass it to Councilman Kaag. So Mr. Jared, I don't know if this is for you or Mr. Ledbetter. So touching on that, it would have to be the higher percentage, because it would be going after the specific. If we just said the fire department only, then it has to go to the higher percentage of the vote, correct?
That's correct. If you were to specify that, shall the city impose a tax for to build a fire hall, that's a special tax. And it used to be that that's what cities would do, and would just and be able to raise taxes at a very low threshold of 50%, and get taxes raised very easily, because it was specified for specific things. And then the voters passed Prop 218, which says that if you're going to do that, then you have to go to the higher threshold of 66 or 2/3 voter approval for a special tax. There is still the ability to do a general tax, which this would be a general tax, and identify those things, including fire services, including police services, including all those other things, as well as all general services, and then hold the city council accountable, and also making sure that indeed through an audit procedure that these are being spent on local programs, not going to fund countywide programs and things of that nature. Doing all of that, it would allow you to do a simple majority approval rate, and then the city council, this city council, could further bind the use of the funds to make sure that it goes for the programs that you and the voters want to see it go for.
I think I just wanted to have clarification, and
Yes.
so everybody understands that's why it's worded that way and the procedure. Okay, thank you. And then Mr. Kague,
Thank you.
Councilman Kague, I'm sorry.
I actually was gonna say the same thing, so thank you for clarification of that, but I'll add a little bit to that, last sales tax measure we did, I was on board with that too. And this is where it comes down to the city council, us as a council as a whole, holding our city accountable for what that goes to. So I advise everybody that's, listening and reviewing this that, when we vote in city council members, that we want to make sure that they're held accountable for these sort of things, because that's what it comes down to. We did with the last one that supposed to go to police and for infrastructure as far as roads and stuff. And by golly, it has went to that. We've made sure as a council, and we thank our city staff for making sure that happens too, because that's why we're here, is to make sure these positive things happen for our city. So this is where we come in saying, hey, we want this to happen. We want to keep moving forward. Tax initiatives, nobody wants to do. Guaranteed, nobody wants it, but everybody wants to see our firefighters in a safe situation to where they can do their job properly, and we need to make sure that happens. And we thank our firefighters, and we want to make sure that they're protected and doing the job that they can do, the best they can do. So we appreciate them, and this is kind of getting out there and making sure that the public's educated on this. That's what happened last time. Can we technically persuade people to do those, to vote for this? No, but we can through our talking to our constituents and stuff like that, tell them why we're doing this, and we can educate them. That we can do. We can't encourage them to vote a certain way, but we can encourage them to understand why we put this ballot on the measure on the ballot, excuse me. So these are things that we can do. As far as some of the verbiage, I definitely would ask the rest of council to look at the verbiage, make sure. I think we can maybe tweak it a little bit. I don't know if the one thing that stands out for me is senior and youth recreation. I understand we're trying to generalize this, but recreation throws up a big red flag in my book as far as looking at other things. I understand it should be some type of verbiage saying that there should be senior and youth services, I would say, instead of recreation, because recreation looks like a whole nother field. When you start doing that, that could mean we're using this to build a new gym for the high school, which we're not. Or we're using this to do a new basketball court down on Minor Street Park. So I don't know if I like the verbiage on the recreation part. I think it should be just services. But I know we have a couple of school teachers here too that might have some good ideas on some good verbiage and stuff too. So I'm going to leave that to them to voice their opinion on that. That's the only one that I really see that stands out that I don't really agree with, is the recreation part of it. But if there's any other ideas that the rest of council has, I'm definitely want to hear it, because I think verbiage is going to be the main thing to get the attention of the citizens to help make sure this goes through, because we need it in a bad way. So thank you. And I think that's all I got to say for right now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Kaeg. Councilman McCoy.
I like the language for the most part, the way it is. If we're to build a firehouse, we're gonna need a 40-year loan. That means that this money, the first part of this money that comes off, will be servicing that firehouse for 40 years. So basically it is spoken for. So the next 10 city councils aren't gonna have anything to say about where a great majority of this money goes, because it's going to service the debt to the USDA. Now, you know, I think that our police and fire have done a good job with their Measure C money. And Measure C, I believe, that wasn't parcel, was it, or is it a parcel?
That was a sales tax, a half a
That's sales
percent.
tax, okay. Because we talked about doing a parcel, and the thing is, the parcel is not going to give us the kind of inflow of funding that we need. A sales tax is a fair tax. However you want to look at it, we as citizens of the city of Wairika do not pay. We pay probably half or less than half of the sales tax, because it is going to be paid by other people who come into the area. Nobody likes taxes. I don't like taxes. I hate income tax. I hate everything tax wise, but you know, I love living in California, and this is where I make my home. As I said, it provides more revenue than the property assessment. I think it's easier to swallow for us as local citizens. But as you said, we need to hold the city council as members of the city. We need to hold the city council accountable as we go on. But again, we need a fire hall, and we would like to see, you know, if everything shakes down the way it is, we'd like to see paid fire staff. I don't think you're going to see a ton of money left over to buy fire equipment. I don't think you're going to see a ton of money left over to put in for parks or rec. But certainly, if you look at cities like Loma Linda, those cities are called, I think they're called 4 Blue Star cities, because their city has taken the time to put in recreation activities and things like that for the seniors and for the over 18 generation that combat sickness, including cancer. And if you haven't had a chance, look up Loma Linda to see, because that's their number one thing is we want people to come live here because you have a better life here and a longer life. So I do trust. I don't trust everybody. I was in education 30 years. I learned not to trust what anybody said to me until I verified it. But I do believe that the city and the city council have the best intentions at heart to use this money for what we would like to see it used for. And I believe we all would like, I can't speak for all of us, so I say, I believe we'd like to see it used for a fire hall and for fire equipment. I know, let's say that Jerry or BJ have to buy a snorkel in 6 years. I don't know, what's that, $1.2 million? Yeah, so $300,000 a year for Measure, or whatever it is for Measure H, doesn't, I mean, if you have to commingle a little bit of funds, I guess you have to. We'd like to leave it all separate, but $1.2 million for a snorkel is a lot to pay. So, and I don't think we'll be doing that anytime soon, but you know, I mean, how old is our snorkel now? 10?
It's 16 years, so we're trying to push it out as far as we can because of that.
Yeah. So it's not 40 years down the road. It might be, if we could, 20 years or 15 or whatever. So anyway, so I mean, is the language perfect? No. Do I have any, I guess I'm more trusting. So I think that the city and future councils will use it as it is intended. If they don't, they will be defaulting probably on a USDA loan, and that'll put the city into bankruptcy. And at that point in time, they'll know they're on the hot seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McCray. Anybody else?
Piggyback on one other thing on that.
Okay. Councilman.
Getting back to why it should be more of a general sales tax like that is because I feel not only obviously we need stuff for the fire department, but we're the hub, we're the central core of Siskiyou County. All the services here in Wairika, we have the Forest Service, we have the county administrations, all different branches of that. We have behavioral health, we have all those. We also have Social Security, we have unemployment building, we have the DMV, we have all these services that supplies all of Siskiyou County. So I feel it's fair that all of Siskiyou County pays that tax to help keep our safety at hand firsthand, fire hall, having the fire safety and all that. So by having that sales tax, everybody's contributing to it, not just Wairika. If we do it specifically, then it's just Wairika paying for it. And it's not really, I don't think it's fair. I think it's fair for everybody to be paying on that, just for the fact is everybody utilizes it. All you have to do is just sit in the base of Forest Mountain at 8 o'clock in the morning, or a few minutes before 8 o'clock, or at 5:15 heading the other direction. You'll see how many people live over in Scott Valley that work here in Wairika, or head over to Shastina and see how many people work in Wairika and live in Shastina and all this. So it's all of our services, whether it be Walmart or whatever, is utilized here in Wairika. So I think it's a necessity that everybody pays that sales tax to help us out. And it's going to make the county stronger by us being stronger. And that's one of the reasons why I just wanted to point out to everybody that it's important that everybody pay into that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cake.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes,
can
Mr.
just
Ledbetter?
make a statement. I appreciate all that feedback. I do want to kind of recalibrate to what we're here doing tonight, because we're not passing any type of the ballot measure. So I just want to get back to, we have some feedback here with the services taking place of recreation. And then I just want to make sure that there's no other feedback at the moment, which would be really going back. If I can kind of put some words in your mouth here, Councilman Member Baker, we should go back to the Measure H verbiage, and we should kind of compare and contrast that verbiage to this line right here: the upgrade, replace aging firefighting safety equipment, life-saving tools. And then maybe work here with Attorney Jared, with Assistant City Manager Hogan, and really come back to you guys having made some alterations to that language to show separation from Measure H, which I do think is a very important point that's been brought up here, because I think there'll be confusion out in the public with what's already been passed. And so if that's the feedback where we currently stand, obviously you guys will make more discussion, but I just want to be on the same page that right now replacing recreation with services, and then reworking this half a sentence here, which I don't suggest we do tonight. I really want to avoid any level of like actually getting into the nuts and bolts of making these changes. I would rather do that with staff and the attorney, and then come back to you guys and present that. So if that's appropriate, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
All right.
I agree.
Everybody's fine with that? Okay. With that, I will go to public comment.
You want to go first? Thank you. It's kind of odd for me to get up during public comment, but because this is such a fire department related topic, that I feel it's necessary to speak. And I want to thank Councilmember Davis for bringing up the questions that he did, because it goes directly to what my concerns are. A lot of effort has been put into this, and I mean no disrespect to anyone, because there has been a tremendous amount of, it's been a heavy lift. There's been a tremendous amount of work by a lot of people. But I do have an issue with some of the other things that are mentioned in the verbiage. I realize that because it is a general tax, you can't specifically say it all goes to the fire department. Obviously, to sound, spoiled or whatever, I would like to see that, because it will accomplish great things with potentially building a new station and getting paid staff. The other items that were mentioned, like say recreation, whether it's for seniors or youth or Madrone Hospice, I have no problem with any of those, the things that are provided generally under the general fund for those services. However, what I've been told by people that I just was told tonight when I went to vote, well, here's pretty soon we're going to help you guys get some funding. And I'd hate to see this be something of a, well, people get to read the measure, when they see it, but I think it'll be confusing to them to see these other things in there when they're thinking they're just supporting the fire department only. So in absence of that, I mean, Measure H, it was mentioned. We've been using that for years, since 2006 when it was passed, started the process of developing a plan. And we've replaced everything in 12 or 13 years. We've used that money wisely, and that's going to continue to serve us well. Any extra money that we had through the benefit of a sales tax initiative would be wonderful, because as City Manager Jason Ledbetter put it, yeah, the costs are going up. When it comes time for a new ladder, there is going to be a substantial amount more money. We purchased 2 apparatus for 1.2 million. One engine we don't have anymore, and we still have the ladder. So yeah, the equipment's expensive, but we'll plan ahead. And now we have a good amount of money in there in hopes that for this fire station project, that will come to fruition. However, I just want to go on record tonight as saying I do have, I want the council to really be careful with how we construct this verbiage so that we get the maximum amount of effort put towards helping the fire department. Otherwise, I'd hate to see this all be for naught, for lack of a better description. I'd like to see this go to as much as it can to the fire department without having to go to the 66 plus 1. We did that with Measure H. It took 3 tries, and that was a huge burden for a few years until we got it passed. Thanks to the citizens for doing that. And it is confusing. We still have education to do with that tax measure to the public to make sure they understand. But we've been able to absorb those additional costs on equipment as well. $40,000 for a new set of tools, jaws that we just bought a year and a half ago. So yeah, we were able to do that. So we've been able to make that work. So there hasn't been a need we've been able to use other money in our budget that we weren't using. We've been able to make that work. So, I don't know that it's necessary to even have that in there. The 2 items that we have, paid staff, station, that's what we've been selling to the public, and we need to stick to that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Lemus.
Good evening, BJ Losslaw, Assistant Fire Chief. I agree with Jerry. We've been trying to sell this to people that is for the fire department. So one question I have is, in Measure C, the fire department's not even mentioned, but the police department is. In Public Works, to quote a city council person, we're going to paint the roads black. Fire department's not mentioned. Why is that? But all of a sudden now, with the language tonight, police department's mentioned, all these services are mentioned, when we've been told we're selling this as a fire department, or the money is going to the fire department. That's a concern of mine. As far as Measure H goes, when it was passed, we had a great committee together, and they came up with a great plan, which we've implemented, we've followed. And part of that plan was, in 20 years, we were looking to build a station, and that's where we're at. Like Jerry said, we replaced all of our apparatus. We went from our average age of apparatus being over 30 years old. Now we're under 10. The average lifespan of an engine in a big city is 20 years. Is actually 10 years, I apologize. And departments our size is 20 years. Our ladder truck is 16 years old. We're hoping to push that out to 30 years. That's what Measure H is for. We purposely not utilize part of Measure H. 20% that the fire department could take a year, because we want that fund to build. More than happy to give a presentation on the whole fund if that's what the council would like, just so you guys understand. I know none of you were on the council when it passed. So my concerns, like Jerry said too, is with this broad language, and I understand why it has to be broad, but with the broad language that if this passes, other departments are now coming in, other organizations are now coming in going, oh, funds are available. What's the guarantee that those funds are going to be made available to the fire department or Is it gonna go to the police department? Is it gonna go somewhere else? That's what we're looking for, some guarantee, because I've been in the department 25 years. I've been around the department for 46 years. I know what the station is. I know what the equipment is. I've been involved in the purchase of every piece of equipment in our department. And I know the costs, and they keep going up. We have to have some funding stream guaranteed to the department to keep us viable. And that also goes with staffing. We have to have some sort of staffing plan to keep this department viable, or we're gonna start losing firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you, BJ.
Audrey. Why can't we do the 2/3 vote? Do you guys not trust your people enough in this city to be able to read and understand that every penny would go to the fire department, which is going to put out their house if it's on fire? Why? Why is 2/3 bad? Seriously. If you write this the exact correct way so that they know for sure this money is going to go to the fire department, it will. Because if you write that the way that is right now, that's telling me that essential city services like the pool, which is going to be essential soon, money is going to go to that. There's not going to be the fire department. They might get a nickel. Big deal. Where's our new fire department going to come from? We have the lay station, right? Who needs a new fire department? I mean, I'm sick and tired of hearing people come to me and say, we can't trust you guys. It happens every day. And I've been trying to educate, but they don't trust. We absolutely have to have this. And does 2/3 vote mean that only Wairika gets taxed? And how are you going to do that? You go to Walmart from Mount Shasta, and what are they going to ask you? Are you coming from Mount Shasta? That means you get Mount Shasta tax? No, it'll be paid the exact same. All of Wairika is going to be what it's going to be for taxes. So everyone who comes through Wairika is going to pay that tax. So, if we do it the right way, which is to put the wordage that it only goes to the fire department, period, and nowhere else. Because how can we trust you guys? And it's not just you guys. It's not you. It's who comes after you. The pool needs money. The pool needs a whole new filter. So guess what? The fire department sacrifices. We need a fire department. We need paid staff. We need EMTs. We need help here, guys. And we're drowning and no one's throwing us rope. Please, please make this 2/3 and we can pass this. And Measure H was real unclear, which is why it didn't pass 3 times. It took 3 times. They had to clean up that language when it first came through. It was real muddy, just like this, real muddy. And the second time it got cleaned up a little better. And the third time, oh my God, yeah. So clean it up and do it right, please.
Thank you, Don Marie.
Lorenzo Love. I can support a tax increase if and only if all the money from the tax increase goes into a restricted fund. It can only be used by the fire department. Don't tell me you can't do it. Do a special tax ballot measure. Make it happen. Make your case to the public. I'll support that. We just can't trust you otherwise. And we especially can't trust all future city councils in perpetuity. If you want me to detail all the ways you gave us reasons to not trust you, I'll be happy to do that, but I'll need far more than 5 minutes to do it.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Okay, no other public comment. I will close the public comment at this time. Okay. So I guess at this time you're going to research, Mr. Ledbetter, the language that was on the measure H. I'm sorry, measure.
H and yeah, H was the, yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
Geez, confusing.
C was, C
Yes,
was,
yeah.
C was the other one.
Yes.
H was the one
For
fighter.
yes,
firefighters.
yes. I can remember you asked for measure H, right, to see the clarification or what was on there, or you did say measure C, did you?
No, I said,
Okay.
I said measure H.
Dwayne's confusing us.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr.
I was
Kig.
I was gonna bring up measure C is why. I'm sorry.
Oh,
My skipping stone brain.
I could have been. I was like, was I wrong there? Okay. All right. So you're gonna look into that and then bring back maybe that change and then consider the future of what the placement would be.
That's correct.
All right. Okay. Oh. Did you have your hand up? Oh, okay. I thought you had your hand up first.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay. No public hearing. No new business. So we'll just skip down to number 11. This is city manager and staff reports. City manager and staff may make brief announcements or reports at this time.
Yeah, I just have a real brief, this is Jason Ledbetter, city manager. I have a real brief update. So I toured the base camp facility a couple times over the last couple weeks. That's going to be the new shelter on Main Street from the county. They're still in the process of their building permit, but I'm hopeful that over the next month and a half, that facility finally does open. 2:30, we had a special meeting over at the community center about the possibility of paid staff and a new fire hall. Tomorrow we'll have the continuum of care meeting at behavioral health. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. Okay, so other staff. So I will go to the council members for the reports. Who wants to jump in first? Councilman Davis.
Well, the only thing that I did that was city related was I attended the meeting that Mr. Ledbetter set up, and you, of course, I'm sorry, over at the community center, and I attended that, and it was very informative.
Okay, great. Council Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Middleton. Today is election day. And it looks like the council meeting is going to adjourn before the polls are closed. So if you have not had the opportunity to cast your ballot today, you still have plenty of time. And that was my public service announcement for the day. I too attended the special meeting last Tuesday night. And unfortunately, I had to skip the C2C meeting to attend the special meeting, but that's all I have. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Councilman McCoy.
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Ledbetter for putting together the warming shelter. It was a good thing. I enjoyed being here one night. It's not the first time I've worked them, but it was certainly very pleasant. And we certainly had, the night I was here, I think we had an equal amount of male and females, and they watched a little bit of a movie and had something to eat, and it was great. And I want to thank council members and Sasha and Michael and Tara for being here. You did a wonderful job. And then I want to thank you also for working with the county to prepare one for Monday night. hopefully these will be the last ones we have until we get something going up there. So I toured the hill last Saturday and talked with quite a number of people. The hill, I mean, across from behavioral health. We were talking about numbers and what different people thought they, how many numbers there were. I counted the camps. I counted the number of camps, and then we looked at how many were empty, counted animals. I did speak with owners of animals that were not on leashes, advised them that a 6-foot leash was the law, even though we know your dog is the best behaved dog in the world and is not. And they were, it's always well, my dog's a well behaved dog, And I said, well, you got to follow the law and that sort of thing. So I went to North Deer Creek where I was I couldn't even going in the back find anybody there. There might have been somebody there. And then at going across there at Patty Mattingly Park onto the Greenway, I could not find anybody on either side. I found a little bit of trash. It looked like maybe some people were kids were gonna have a little beer party there. They had a fire ready to go that night, I guess. But I did not dip into the creek and underneath. I must confess, because I know there are probably people down where the breakaway bridges are. But it was good for me to walk up there, good for me to talk to people. I ran into one of my ex-students that makes 11 of students that I know from either Jackson Street or Wairika High. So we know that this is, we hear a lot of numbers about buses dropping people off and 707s landing down at Walmart and dropping off 135, homeless people, but we know that's just not so. These people, a lot of them are just our people. Some are transient, but these people are just our people. And it's sad to see my students down there because I personally feel like I failed them, whether I was their teacher or whether I just came into contact with them in another way. Anyway, let's see, I had one more thing to do. I just wanted to mention that I'm going to go ahead and say, I just wanted to mention to Jerry, to BJ, to all of my fellow colleagues and everybody here, if we are going to service a new fire hall, it's not coming out of the air, honey. So for a city council to say, after 15 years of paying the bills, to say, oh, we're going to take this 2.4 million, we're going to put it into a pool, or we're going to do a fun house, or we're going to do a stand-up water thing. It ain't going to happen, folks. It's nobody. Even if city council says we want it done, I'm hoping the city manager and the city attorney and the assistant city manager 20 or 30 years from now will say, we're going to bankrupt the city. I'm gone. If we're going to service a debt, we're going to service a debt. It's like going out and buying a car and then saying, I'm not going to pay anymore. I take that money and I'm going to start eating at McDonald's. I'm going to start doing that. So, I would just say, whatever we do, and we may or may not have a sales tax. We may or may not, but whatever we do, we have to listen to what people in City Hall are telling us about servicing debt, because we have other debts to service. And if we just start taking money and throwing it out here and there and, building new lakes and, waterfalls and stuff like that, it's, new parks, it's a waste of money. It's gonna wreck everything else in this city. So, and people do expect not only fire and rescue services, they do expect in our city law enforcement. They do expect, that was my last thing I'm gonna hit, no potholes, because I hit 67 of them from Grocery Outlet to Overland. Yes, 67 going that way. I hit it.
Counted them?
Only 29 going this way. No, it's not your guys' issue. And that's Caltrans and other people that need to cold patch again. But people are going to tell you when they have bad potholes, they don't have drinking water, they don't have fire, they don't have police, and their toilet isn't flushed. We're going to hear about it. And I hear about that quite frequently, believe me, from people. Even if it's not like potholes, it's not a concern. I hear about it. I can hear about it sometimes 20 times in a week. Thank you. And I'll yield. And I wasn't, that puddle wasn't aiming you. Don't worry about it.
67.
60. My truck.
Did you count them? Seriously count them?
Yes, I do.
Oh my God, you have way too much time on your hands.
Well, I do. I'm teaching second, third, and fourth grade.
Oh, boy.
All right.
I'm sorry, thanks.
Thank you for that.
Councilman Kate.
I just want to add on to the warming shelter or warming center setup and thank Jason and city staff and everybody that was involved in it. There's a lot went on that weekend. It was a very cold weekend. Did go out and about. Mike Aiello, that was part of our COC group. Him and I tag teamed, went up and down the Greenway, went on the hill, went numerous places in town and spoke with a lot of individuals. And it was quite educational. It'll be good once we get a homeless shelter up and going, just for the fact is that we can get some of these individuals off the streets, off of some of the places that you probably don't even know they exist. Right now, there's quite a few of them that are hanging out behind the Bottling Works Mall in the bridge. Right up here at the tribe, what do you want to say, the gazebo part right by the fire hall. We have quite a few. Down at, I can go on for hours here, letting everybody know exactly where everybody's at. Yes, there is some back by where you're talking about, Mr. McCoy, over behind the Forest Service, and back through there underneath that bridge area. Yes, there is 4 camps back there. My biggest concern with those individuals is the amount of drug use that's going on right now. It is horrible. That's when you walk up on some of these individuals like I did this weekend, I knew we had an issue with drug use going on, and it's all over. It's not just Wairika, it's everywhere. But these individuals are excessively using drugs to very big extremes. When you walk up on them and they're hiding what they're doing, get their tinfoil, wadding up their tinfoil and hiding it from you. When you come walking up, it's like pretty obvious what's going on. It's pretty sad. And when they're losing their teeth, their face is all tore up from drug use, and it's pretty sad. So anyways, getting back to talking about the shelter, hopefully these individuals, when they be receptive on going to the shelter and getting some services to get them off their situation that they're in. And that's the only chance we have to get these individuals out, is to try to offer them some type of services. It's kind of a bummer that we have to go to these extremes when there's used to be a perfect world we used to live in, but now it's not so much due to all the drug laws and people that don't want to, they think they're helping these individuals, but they're not. By letting them do their drug use, it's not helping these individuals. Like I said, I can keep on going on. We are going to have a continuum of care meeting tomorrow, like Mr. Ledbetter stated. A couple of things that we are going to be talking about, and it's going to be neat. One of them is there's a presentation by Seventh-day Adventist initiative to end homelessness. So that's going to be educational there. We have some budgeting we're talking about, which a lot of people don't really care about that so much. But I am going to be talking about tomorrow, SB 1338. And what SB 1338 is, one of those initiatives, it's really actually a pretty good initiative, a state bond or state that comes about. It's actually, it's called Care Court, and Care Court makes it pretty much basically mandatory for these individuals to get some type of help. And it could help with our law enforcement. It can help with family members that have trouble getting these individuals in, getting the services, getting them hooked up. This is what this Care Court does, and it's actually some type of accountability to make sure that there's follow-up when these individuals are doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. There's follow-up in the end result, not just saying, okay, you're bad, go on with life. It's actually, no, we're going to get you some help, get some treatment, and get you out of this situation. And there's follow-up on this. So I'm actually going to be talking about that tomorrow. So there's kind of some neat verbiage that goes along with that. So I'm really excited about SB 1338 on that aspect, that there's a lot of money that goes in conjunction to that, hopefully will help some of these individuals, get them off the streets, get them out of the drug use, get them out of some of the mental illness that they're fighting. It's pretty important that this, gets helped out. By the end of this year, our county actually is being mandated to actually have a care court and start using this SB 1338. So some of the other cities have started using it, and it's actually helped them out. So other than that, like I said, I want to thank everybody that was involved in that got everybody into the quarters over the weekend and yet last night. We had, I heard there was 11 individuals last night. I didn't come by last night. But Saturday, as Mr. McCoy stated, worked out, and there was 8. I think we counted 8 individuals.
That as many as 10.
It was there. It's okay. When I got there, I think we're down to 8. So, but those individuals also expressed coming back to the homeless shelter once we get a shelter going, and actually was receptive on getting some type of help. Some of the individuals I spoke with, at least out in the field, not necessarily here when I was there that night, but out in the field, they were actually receptive on getting some type of help. So I'm excited about that, because the more avenues we can help these individuals and get them off the streets and get them out of their situation, the better it is. And one last thing, and I'll shut up again, is kind of excitement. And this, I'm going to make an announcement tomorrow. The individual that it's part of our COC that I've been helping out the shop, and he's been living out my shop, and homeless individual, Mike, awesome guy. Some of the things we take for granted, he actually got a bank account from Siskiyou Central Credit Union. He got that yesterday and was totally excited about getting a bank account. And I asked him, I go, Mike, when was the last time you had a bank account? And he's like, gosh, I don't know. He goes, it's probably been at least 20 years since I've had a bank account. And he goes, and he was just so proud. He got all dressed up, went down to the bank and got this bank account. And he was so proud of that. And that's like, to me, that's a success story. We don't hear enough success stories, but he's ended up being a success story. He's changed his life. He's cleaned up, and he's really just trying to make a path to success, to try to do the right thing, work hard and do the right thing. So that's, we hear all the negativity of all these people and of, oh, they're making this mess, they're doing this thing. You know what? He was one of those guys up on the hill that everybody's complaining about. He was one of those guys up on the hill, and now he's making a difference. So thank you for listening to me blabber on.
Thank you, Councilman McKay. All right. Yeah, this Saturday was the first time I had come and worked or sat in at the homeless or warming center, actually. And it went by fast, actually, but I scooted out a little earlier than everybody else. I left at 1 a.m. I left them. So, but yeah, everybody was respectful, and movies. I did some work actually and caught up on some stuff. So thank you for everybody who volunteered and helped out, because it was cold out there. I know moving forward, and we talked about this at length, it's not an easy thing to talk about monies and where it's going to be placed and what we need and who gets cut and who expects things. It's not easy to sit here for all of us. But I want to say, sitting with this council, and since I've sat here, I think they've done a good job with managing the money with the measures, and are quite honest people. And to hear if people are saying that they don't trust us is that's their own opinion, but I hear otherwise from many of my constituents that say we're doing a good job and they trust us and like the way the city's going. So I hear the opposite. So I'm happy to sit with each and one of you, because I think we all have the city at heart and the best interest in moving forward. As Councilman Baker knows, I think, so when people think of the city of Wairika of 7,300 people, they think everybody's registered to vote. They're not. I think when I ran for the election and saw that 3,800 people, 3,200 people voted or registered to vote. So to try to get 66% of 3,200 people to vote when everybody's not registered, it's sad that not many people are registered in the city of Wairika. It's less than 50%, correct? Almost 50%.
Yes.
That's pretty sad. And to get that percentage of any measure, tax measure, whatever it be, like I said, we'll do what the constituents say. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if that's what they say, then we leave it up to the voters what they want to. I mean, it's their future, and so I would hope that more people attend city council meetings to voice their opinion. I would hope they attend the workshops that Jerry and the council or the staff at the city has worked so hard to, with the diagrams and the presentation, to see the really the bleak outlook of what the fire department's facing. And I hope more people would attend because that's going to get the message. So any way we can all start sharing or inviting the citizens or reminding them, because we do need to hear from them what they want. This is their city. We're here for them, but if we don't hear from them and the message isn't there, you're right. Anything's going to fail. So we just, I would hope our citizens come out next time we have an event like that everybody's been asking for, a town hall. They ask for it, then they don't show up. We have 11 people and we get hammered to have it, and it's a start, but I hope we get more, of a town that this size, that we of a very important would move forward. So yeah, I wish we had, every city wants enough money for everything, right? And there's only so much in the pot, and that's why with the cost of everything, and it's not easy sitting down here and having to tell some people yes or some people no, and we wish we could just hand out money left and right to everybody and have great things for our city, but we do the best we can. I think we have a great staff and a great council that is working hard to do that and really care about moving the city forward in their best interest. So I just want to say that, and I don't have any other meetings I attended. So with that, I'll adjourn the meeting and wish everybody a good evening. Thank you.
Yeah. Second, third, before they clap 40 days.